Legge, Dylan Webber, another edition of Riding Home here, Georgia, with the press conference today, and their first practice of the week. It's Tuesday. What do you make of the Dawgs today? They were a little bit banged up.
Yeah, I mean, just across the board, I don't. It doesn't sound like anything serious to me. And Kirby downplayed everything as well. But I mean, you still have the Eric Stokes, Tyson Campbell injuries going on. But I mean, Eric played. Got hurt in the game last week with the knee injury. Came back and played at the very end, but Kirby said, he's still a little banged up. Wasn't out there today. Same with Tyson. David Marshall also not out there, and Solomon Kenley too.
So, when you take a look backwards at that game, considering that Notre Dame just could not run the ball, a lot of the success they had, if you want to call it success, was through the air. How much do you think that not having essentially two of your best corners, if not the two starting corners out there, what difference do you think that made in the game?
I mean, that definitely hurts. That you just have to play more inexperienced guys like DJ Daniel, who are talented. We've seen them play well, but I mean, it's just they don't have the experience that both Tyson and Eric do.
Isn't that crazy? You're talking about true sophomores having experience, and
I know it is weird, but it just a matter of fact. I mean, it's just Tyson Campbell played in 12, 13 games last year.
Oh, he played in a lot, yeah. I'll say this, man. I thought they kind of. I know we're going to get to what Kirby had to say, I guess, but they fought getting down like that with such a catastrophic play, and then fighting their way back and outscoring Notre Dame from that stage, 23 to 10. Georgia really, I thought, outplayed them, and I talked about this a lot in the Dean Legge show on Sunday night, I think it was. But they really did fight back. I mean, they hadn't exactly had a bunch of games where they were the underdog. I mean, where they were trailing in the second half, and that's what happened in this game. I mean, they were trailing against Florida in 2018, Texas, obviously, Alabama. They came back to win the Florida game. They came back to win this game too. They did not come back against LSU, a team that jumped them from the start, and after submitting the lead to Alabama, they didn't come back in that game either. So Texas and LSU kind of jumped them. And I don't know if you could say that Notre Dame did, but Notre Dame was dead serious from the get-go. And I thought the Irish played well. I know we've talked about that a lot, but
yeah. Well, I mean, we could both tell we were both on the field for that. It's just that
true.
You could really tell right off the bat that just how physical they were.
They were. Their offensive line was pretty legit, and Tennessee won't have anything for Georgia on that front, but and I'm not sure Florida will too. Look, as much as I criticize the schedule that Clemson plays, Georgia's got a pretty. I mean, these next three games are not going to be super challenging for them.
No, not at all. But I mean, they still have a tough schedule. I think they still have 3 top 25 matchups left in their way.
Well, they have. I mean, if we're going by today, they have at least 2 more. They've got a win over a top 10 team. They've got 2 more top 10 games to deal with. The question is, will Missouri be a top 10, a top 15 team, top 20 team when they get to Athens? I'm going to look up Missouri's schedule right now. I don't think it's out of the question that happens.
If they keep winning, if they keep playing how they're playing right now, they would at least be a top 25.
Well, they're not. I mean, there's no game they should lose before they play Georgia. I mean, Mizzou closes. Missouri's problem was they lost to Wyoming. Needless to say. But they dominated West Virginia, who is not great, and they dominated a suddenly sinking ship at Carolina. But I mean, they got Troy after this week. Mizzou is off. They got Troy. They host Ole Miss, who is struggling, and then they travel to Vanderbilt and travel to Kentucky. Those are all games they should win, and then they get the week off before Georgia.
Yeah, I think Missouri will probably be at least a top 25 team because, I mean, at that point, what would they be? With one loss at...
That would be, for them, if my math is correct, that would be 8-1 with just a bizarre loss to Wyoming.
Maybe Wyoming's a legit team. Maybe we shouldn't discredit. It was at Wyoming too. I mean, you should still win that game as
You should
any
still
SEC.
win that game. Period. I'm sorry, I don't get that. I mean, there's just no explanation for losing to Wyoming. It just can't happen. I mean, they lost this week to Tulsa. They barely beat Idaho. They barely beat Texas State. I mean, that was a road game for them. They won that game by 9. They lost to Tulsa. So and they barely beat Idaho. So it's just that's not a good loss. I know this is really about Georgia more than it is.
Yeah, I don't know how we're sidetracked on Missouri. I mean, people don't even care about Missouri.
No, they don't, but they're in the way. And a lot of people now are saying, hey, that could be a trap game. It's in between the Gators and Auburn. Auburn looks better, man. They do, but I had a good, person I've trusted for a long time. He said, don't give me this Auburn shit right now, man. He was just that straight about it. He said, I'm not trying to hear it. I don't buy it. But we'll see. I mean, if they struggle with the Gators, you're going to know they're not so hot. I mean, these are all probably games Georgia should win. Let's be honest.
But Auburn is one of those teams that they have talent. They're a solid team.
They're good, man.
And they're going to give at home Georgia their best.
They can win. They can totally beat Georgia down there, man. I mean, they totally could beat Georgia down there.
And I don't mean that Auburn's the better team. Probably not at all. But they could, I mean, if Georgia plays an off game in Auburn, shit could go wrong.
Well, they've got to deal with the Gators in 2 weeks, I think. Not this week, but I mean, Auburn, they'll kill Arkansas, but then their schedule gets legit real quick. And, they've got essentially every other week from here on out. They host State this weekend. So that's going to be a little bit tricky. Then they go to Florida. They'll kill Arkansas. They host LSU. They should beat Mississippi. Then they host Georgia, Samford, and then they host Alabama. That's challenging. That's no joke right there because you got the two best teams in the East. But for Georgia today, a lot of it was. I mean, he was a little jumpy today. Not jumpy. He was a little bit. Is cranky the wrong way to put it?
No, I think cranky works.
It's just so interesting, I have to say, just as a person, I think he's quite intelligent.
Kirby?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. He's not the common college football coach, I guess you could say. He's not a meathead.
No, definitely not.
But his frustration with particular reporters or any particular question, he doesn't hide it. I think he would do himself a favor occasionally hiding it. That's just my opinion. Am I wrong?
I mean, yeah. I don't think it's worth it. It's
for him.
It's just kind of annoying. But I don't know. I think he is very intelligent. I mean, the way he runs this program is very organized.
Analytical.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean. It's in bye weeks. I always feel like he's a little
cranky.
Yeah. I don't know what other word to use, but I think he just really wants to focus on football. Like he's literally addicted to football.
Yeah, that's the thing that you taught when you and I you wrote the story about Jake Fromm coming into this season. A lot of the running theme was, hey, Kirby and Jake have a lot in common. They are both football like junkies. The word football nerd, I threw that out there, and someone sort of corrected me and said, no, they're kind of more junkies than they are nerds.
Because nerds have self-restraint, but they just literally addicted to football.
Is he going to change this visor? Does he wear a different visor for practice? Because I think he does.
I think so. I've always kind of wanted to ask him why the visor over a hat.
Brian Kelly wore a visor Saturday night as well, which I thought was interesting.
Maybe he kind of saw Kirby and was like, hey, I kind of like that. But doesn't he usually wear a visor?
Brian Kelly, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Kirby has worn a visor since forever. I mean, when he was at Georgia the first time, he had a visor. So it's not new. I always wore visors.
Yeah.
I stay away from. I stay away from hats. Now I can't speak to Kirby's hair, and I can hear everyone turning off right now. But I know the way mine is, and his is not so far from mine. You don't want to bunch that up underneath a hat, man. It's not pretty after a while. But a lot of people associate visors with Steve Spurrier, but I think it's folks who play golf more than anything else, as your friends chime in the background.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why do you think he wears a visor though?
I think it's his hair.
You think so?
Yeah, I think I think it's just a situation where it's tougher to get it all underneath. But I don't think I've ever seen him wear a regular baseball hat.
How do you think he would look? This is what the bye week comes to, man.
Yeah, but I mean, let's not act like our audience. They listen to it. I mean, it's
and I think everyone has the question too.
Well, it is a thing. I mean, like so like Dabo Swinney wears a very particular type of hat when it's kind of a mesh hat. He busts that out a lot. I'm just looking at a picture right now of Kirby with a hat on, shaking hands with Nick Saban in 2005 when he was a coach at Georgia. In late March 2005 when he got his first job at Georgia, he's talking to Nick Saban, and he's got a white visor on. I don't think anyone else has that picture, and if they do, I'd be surprised. But like even back then, he was wearing visors. He looks like he's 20 in these pictures, but of course he was 20.
Yeah,
how old was I? So I was 28. I was 26 at this point, 27 at this point. So he was 28 or 9. He was not even 30 yet. But
that's nuts. I feel like you can only start wearing a visor when you're like 35 and older.
Oh man.
But I mean,
I wore it in college. It was just my hair, But the thing about him is he's always been very driven. He's always I think he and I'm not, I can be critical of Kirby, but I do think he is quite smart. I think he's quite intelligent, actually. And I in talking, this is name dropping an old friend of mine in the sites. When Chad Simmons and I would talk about who the coach at Georgia would be after Mark, or what would you do if you got rid of Mark. I mean, he was always, I don't want to say insistent, but he was convinced that Kirby would do well, and he did. He has done well so far, and it can't be overly surprising with the amount of skill that Georgia now has that they are doing what they're doing. Brian Kelly was impressed with the depth. That was a question I asked him for you.
Yeah, I mean, like, you just, once again, I mean, like, Mark Webb got hurt, and Devon Wilson.
Oh, man, he took over the game.
And, yeah, and he played insane. And this kid's now a redshirt freshman. This is his
fourth freshman? I don't know how that works.
No, he's a redshirt freshman.
That's right. That's right.
And this is his fifth collegiate game now?
I don't have anything. Listen, man, it is not about having a good time at Georgia. It's about putting in work to do their football. Like if you want to go slide down slides, Georgia's not the place for you. And there's places you can win a national championship that do that. It's just not Georgia, not anymore.
No, I mean, when they really preach this idea, practice harder than you play in games, and it sounds kind of cliche.
I think they do, man.
I think it's legitimate because I think Kirby truly believes, like, it's like swinging with a donut on the bat in baseball. Like, you swing it, it's hard to swing when you have the donut on, but when you go up to bat, you take it off and it's easier to swing the bat.
Those practices are, I mean, we only see so much, but those practices are legit they're definitely very physical. And for Brian Kelly to say it was the most physical game that he could remember coaching in, he said, I've coached in a lot of games. He actually is. He's coached in more games than anyone else in Division I football, I believe. I think he's coached more than Nick Saban because Nick left to go to the Dolphins. And, Brian Kelly's been around for a while. But anyway, even if he just coached since 2001, that would be a long time as a head coach to to say that. And I mean, he's coached in more than 300 games. I think that might be more than Vince Dooley had, or it's right on top of what Vince had.
That's insane. And, I mean, that's including, playoff appearances, a national championship appearance.
Yeah, ain't no doubt, man.
I mean, he hasn't just played in football games. He has played in big football games.
Vince coached now. Okay, part of this is just the new world of college football, but Vince, by very quick math here, coached in 288 football games. Brian Kelly has won 233, lost 93, and tied 2. So he's coached in more games than Vince did, excuse me. And he took over as a head coach at Central Michigan in 2003. So he certainly doesn't have the longevity of Vince, but he's coached in more games. It's just a different world in college football. But, that game was extremely physical, man. I mean, it's also, too, for Brian Kelly to coach that many games in 16 years, and Vince did it in 25 years, tells you these extra games are really adding up. The playoffs, the 12th game, not in Notre Dame's case, but the championship games for conference championships, all that stuff adds up. I don't know, man. It was certainly a huge night in Athens, and a game to remember for sure.
Definitely. And I still stand by. I don't think it was the prettiest football game. It was an exciting one at the end, but
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't honestly. It definitely wasn't the best football I've seen.
It wasn't well played. If that's I don't
Yeah.
think it was either. No, I don't think it was either. But I think
it was still just the idea of it was cool. It was still a close game. I mean, two brand name college football teams get together in a game like this. It just doesn't happen very often. It's awesome to see. I mean, Texas LSU it happened as well, but even then, I feel like this had a little more hype.
Well, it was watched by more people. Texas LSU are 2 huge name brands, though, man. I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start talking about this season, these name brands play each other. Obviously, USC and Notre Dame and Georgia, Texas LSU. Auburn, Alabama, etc. But I mean, if you could somehow get Ohio State, Alabama, or Georgia, Texas. Of course, Georgia and or Texas can't play everyone. I mean, is Texas A&M a brand name? I would say probably not. But they did play Clemson.
Yeah, and that's a big game, but I wouldn't say they're not a blue blood program.
No, definitely not. And that's, I was reading some stuff about A&M. I mean, that loss to Auburn, that hurt them.
I mean, the thing is, it wasn't overly close. I mean, Auburn kind of always had that game. Yeah. And at home, A&M needed that win because that was.
You gotta wonder though, man. They still got to deal with Alabama, LSU, and Georgia, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why they needed that win so badly.
So Clemson's going to get all the credit for that this, early part of the year, but people are going to look back, and unless A&M gets its act together and wins one of those games, that's not going to be a good win.
It's not going to look like a good win. I mean, A&M's still a decent team, a good team even, but won't. They won't look as good at the end of the season.
Your best win can't be over a 5-loss team.
But it's hard to get your best win over, top 10 teams at the quality that A&M is at.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about Clemson. I mean, it's not their fault they play in the ACC, but at the same time, I mean, if Texas A&M turns out to be your best win, I don't think they can eat a loss this year, man.
I don't think so either. I mean, especially with how A&M will likely end up going. It's going to be hard.
Who's going to save that league besides Clemson? I mean, good God, Florida State is a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be you need at least 2 years to turn that around. Miami, maybe you can do it quicker, but still. Syracuse?
They lost to.
I know. It's horrible.
Syracuse. It was.
Syracuse is supposed to be the only decent team in there, and they can't even do it. No one wants to win in the ACC except Clemson, and even they sometimes are hesitant to do so.
Yeah. But that A&M, do you think A&M could beat Georgia at this point?
No, not at Georgia.
But the A&M people will not please.
I mean, I wouldn't, because they're probably starting to realize the Aggies thought at the beginning of this year that they could be a legit team, but now they're realizing, oh shit, we might lose 6-7 games.
What do you think? We'll wrap it with this. What do you think the recruits? I mean, you see everyone sees what Matt has been reporting. What do you think though? If you were, you're not so far from what a recruit's age is. What do you think they were sitting there watching all that, taking that in, and saying? What do you think they were thinking about all the lights, etc.?
I mean, that's completely unique to college football. That kind of setup. I mean, there were probably things like it, but that environment was one of the most unique environments college football will have.
And it wasn't really like bonkers.
I don't know, man. I thought it was pretty bonkers. So bonkers that I almost dropped an F-bomb to describe it. But
we're gonna hold off on
I'll restrain myself.
So much restraint. All right, join us tomorrow. Legge and Dylan Webber. We'll see you on the website.